Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for another quick training webinar session. What we're going to be showing you this evening is we're going to be going over some of the items that deal specifically with some of the social networks and how you can use the Xseed marketing system to be able to make use of the social networks and use them to your advantage in a number of different ways. The first couple of items that we're going to show to you guys is first going to be inside the profile, which you may or may not already set up. But what we're going to be looking at is going to be the profile, and we're going to specifically look at the section that's called Social Networks over here on the left-hand side. You'll notice as I hover above it, it just kind of turns green and lets me click on it. So once we're inside the social networks, there's going to be a number of different informational items that we can kind of look at. The first two that we're being met with is going to be our Twitter application, and then we also have a Facebook application. Basically, what you're going to do with these is authorize the Xseed Twitter or Facebook applications to send posts or tweets on your behalf, and this is actually required to use the social media campaigns with your Facebook or those Twitter accounts as well. Essentially just to authorize these, which we'll be talking about more about the applications here in just a couple of moments, but what we're looking at first is we're going to authorize my Facebook. So when I click on the authorize button, it's going to first take me to, of course, the Facebook login page, or if I happen to be logged in already, it's going to take me to, of course, the screen we'll see in just a couple of moments. So let me get logged in on my test account real quick. And then you're going to see this little window that pops up. This is the one I was just talking about. If you're already logged into Facebook, when you click on that authorize button, it'll pop up to this screen. Now, you do want to pause and make sure that you're going to be authorizing it to the correct Facebook. The reason I say that is, of course, in the support industry and dealing with the application, we come across it very often where, you know, a husband or wife or son or daughter or somebody else in the home uses the same computer and they use Facebook, and if they haven't necessarily chosen to log out, they're still technically logged in unless they close the whole browser down. So just be sure that you're using yours. I can tell this is my account because I see my name kind of in here in the background. So if you see a name that's not yours, you probably click on cancel, so that way we're not authorizing this to the incorrect Facebook and sending those Xseed, of course, post and generic information. So the first step is going to say that the Xseed application wants to receive the following info about your public profile on Facebook, your friends list, and your photos. This doesn't mean we're going to be sharing that information or the application is going to be sharing that information with any other parties. This is just so that way our application is able to post to your, of course, Facebook wall or your news feed. It's able to, of course, have your friends list see it, and, of course, some of the posts actually contain images, and those images will appear inside your guys' of course, photo albums inside Facebook as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. The next course screen that pops up is going to ask us if whether or not we want the Xseed application to post to Facebook for us. In this particular case, you're going to click OK, but there's a drop-down menu over here that I want to point your guys' attention to, and the reason for that is if I just click OK, that means all the information, all the great posts, and of course company-specific information that goes out to my Facebook is only going to be viewed by my friends. Now, that's not going to give me the biggest audience as possible, and I'll explain more about this as we go through the rest of this training session. What I'd like to do is go ahead and set this to something of like friends of friends or at least public. The reason I say that is if you set it to friends of friends and you're posting stuff, of course, on your Facebook, you're offering up an actionable item, meaning that that post can be liked, it can be shared, it can be commented on. If you have it set to friends of friends, anytime that one of your friends on your friends list actually interacts with something that you post, their friends get to see that interaction, which then gives them an opportunity to also interact with that particular item. That's generally how things start to get viral, is because of the way that the social networks work these days. Now, obviously, if I set that to friends of friends, that means only people who are friends of my friends can see these posts. However, if I set this to public, that means any information that this application posts is going to be viewable by anybody that happens across my Facebook page. Now, the reason I mention that is anybody that, of course, has a computer these days will likely do their market research on products or, any type of scenarios before they get involved in them. Specifically in our industry for, of course, network marketing or, of course, direct sales, what we're looking at is being able to have people do market research. They can type my name into Google. They can type it into Bing. They can also type the company name, Xseed, into Google. And if those particular pages turn up, results, specifically my Facebook page, that person will still be able to see all that great information that I've been posting from this application. So this is separate from, of course, any of the personal privacy settings that you have set up for Facebook. So if by default your privacy settings are super, private, you can still have the application post public and kind of keep those things separate. So in this case, I'm going to tell it to go ahead and go public. I'm going to tell the application OK. It's going to give me my authorization and put me back into the Go Xseed marketing system, right back in that same spot for social networks. Now, the one thing you'll notice is that authorize button has now changed into a send test post button and a deauthorize button. Send test post will allow me to push something out to the Facebook just to make sure that that authorization is good and secure. The system's going to go ahead and push that information and give me my little success. I can even click to go view that on Facebook. As we can see, it's telling me, hey, home of Xseed products. It's got my website address. It's got a little video button that they can click on, start coming to check out the website and what have you. You do very much the same thing for Twitter. You just click on the authorize button, log in with your information, click on the authorize app, and then you'll be taken back to this spot. The only difference is for Twitter, it'll say send test tweet instead of post. Now, the next thing that we're going to be looking at on this page is going to be the major social networks, which sometimes people do get confused with the applications that we have that you're able to auto-post to Facebook and Twitter with. So what we're actually looking at here is these major social networks, these icons down here. We can actually pre-program these in any of the emails that you're sending out from, of course, this system, and that could be in the form of an autoresponder, or that could even be a directed, one-click email that you're sending out to a bunch of, different prospects or contacts for that matter. So what we're actually looking down here is I've got my username inside the Facebook box, and basically how you can find out your Facebook username is if you're inside your Facebook account, click on your name up here in the upper right, and then everything after the facebook.com/ is your username. So that brian.soundconcepts is, of course, that very same username I have in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and save that information real quickly, and I'm going to show you how this particular button shows up. And we'll actually put some information in here too. So we'll just go ahead and put these links in. Oh, if I can spell correctly today. I'm going to go ahead and save that information, and then, of course, as you guys are probably aware of, you do have the option from the prospecting menu to go to one-click emails. I'm going to show you real quickly what an email would look like as somebody receives it and they've got those particular buttons. So as you program, of course, these particular buttons right here for major social networks, again, you put your usernames in there. It's going to give you these particular buttons on each one of the emails that you're sending out. So this is basically what this email is going to look like to this prospect. Now what they're able to do is to click on those items and then come find me on that social network. Now the reason you want to set something like this up is because the person that you may be prospecting or that you're sending information or sharing information with may not be a part of your social networks as of yet. And because of the way that they work, for every person that you gain on your social networks, you have the potential audience of their friends list as well. So if you bring in somebody new, a new prospect, they come and like you on Facebook, or they follow you, or they friend you, and they start interacting with some of your posts or any other information, their friends list is going to see that interaction, which then gives them the opportunity to also interact by liking, retweeting, all those different types of interactions when it comes to the social posts and tweets. So it's a great way to, of course, expand the audience that you're able to share this information with, is not only push the information directly out to your social networks through the use of our applications, but also provide a trail or a portal for some of your contacts and prospects to come reach out to you on those social networks, so that way you potentially have their audience or their friends list as your audience as well. You've also got the additional social networks down here. Now these will not show up on the emails themselves. These actually show up on your guys' contact me page, which is on the front end. which I'll show you real quickly. So we're inside the profile. If you need to see what your website addresses are, they're over here inside the username/password section. So I'm going to go ahead and, of course, go over to my Xseed Lifestyle website. We're going to pop that up, replace that on this Facebook, and we're going to cruise right over to it. Of course, this is my lead capture page, so I'm just going to fill it out just like a prospect would. And then we'll click that submit button, and it'll pull me through into, of course, the rest of the website. Now, the contact information of the contact badge up here will actually pull somebody into your Contact Me profile page. So as you can see, I've got those 3 follow me links for Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Now, if I added something in the social networks, say if I've got my own YouTube channel with my own personal testimonials, or I also have a Pinterest account, you could put in what's your Pinterest, and of course this isn't my actual username for this, but it'll get the button to appear for all intensive purposes. And of course we could do the same thing for YouTube as well. So as long as I put some information in there, it'll show the button, but you'll want to be sure that you're actually grabbing your YouTube channel name or your YouTube username. Same thing for Pinterest or any of these other social networks. I'm going to click Save. We're going to go back to that Contact Me page. We're going to refresh it, and you're going to see 2 new addition buttons. So we got my Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube. So the next thing that I want to show you guys is actually the application settings for those first 2 things that we talked about for the authorization of those auto posts to go out to your social networks. And how we're going to get there is you actually have a social tools tab that's right at the top of your page underneath social tools. And where we're going to go is inside the auto post section, so we can look at how to tell this application to behave. Now, when we first come into social tools, the first thing that you'll notice is you do have a couple of different tabs down here. You've got your auto post tab, manual post, social media history, and social networks. Auto post is the first one that we're going to be looking at, so we're going to talk about this real fast. Basically, first, you're looking at the auto post settings. So what we can do here is tell the application how often it needs to send something out to my Twitter and my Facebook. So in this case, I can choose as often as every 6 hours. We won't let you auto post any quicker than that, just because we don't want the application to be kind of viewed as spammy in a sense. The next option you have is whether or not you're going to choose a random assortment of a course auto post, or whether or not you're going to choose a custom campaign. I am a huge fan of, course, set it and forget it features. If I can just have something run, share the information, and let, of course, those hits or those questions come to me about the products or the opportunity, I'm a huge fan of that, and that's the way I want to set it. So I'm going to leave my auto post type as random. The next items that we're going to be looking at in these next 2 drop-down menus are going to be dealing with the ratio at which the application is going to be posting generic or food for thought information versus the company-specific information, or specifically Xseed branded post that specifically bring up the name Xseed or talk about testimonials and what have you. So I'm a huge fan of course, having, a good quality mix of generic information mixed in with, a couple of, company-specific posts. That way it's not, just hitting the person over the head with, this is Xseed, this is Xseed, this is Xseed. We want to offer up some food for thought, get kind of that person's, mind working. And I'll talk to you guys about some of the categories where those generic posts are going to be coming from. So one of my favorite ways to set this up is every 6 hours, so that way I'm pushing out at least 4 updates every day or within a 24-hour period. And then I like to set it at a ratio of 3 to 1 generic posts. That way I can at least get something about, of course, my business, the products, the testimonials, whatever may be available to me in the company-specific categories. Or if you wanted to do it every other day, you would want to set this to something like 7 generic posts for 1 company-specific. So within 48 hours, you're always going to have 1 company-specific post going out. So this is a good way to have it. The next thing that we're going to be looking at in this list is the actual auto post content, or the categories that this application is going to be pulling your post from. So as you can see, we've got some famous failure categories. We got generic opportunities, generic quotes and industry facts and images, motivational quotes, Own Your Life, which is basically just it draws some parallels between us being in our particular industry and, of course, us being able to own our own lives through our vehicles, through network marketing or through direct sales, or, just the way we run our own home-based businesses. The Crazy Ones campaign is kind of a new fun one that we just put up there. We'll look at some of course, these samples in just a second on those. And then, of course, we got the company-specific post categories, which right now we have 8 different posts that specifically brand or label Xseed in some form or fashion. Now, these posts aren't necessarily meant to bring the person back to, of course, your website. We still want you to be a part of that dialogue process. So essentially, when something gets posted from the Xseed category, we want that to be able to drum up some attention or some interaction, to have somebody ask you, hey, what's this about? Or, hey, I looked at that, can I get some more information on this? And that's when you're like, hey, here's my website address, or here's my phone number. Whichever way you want to approach the prospecting process is certainly applicable for you guys. But what we're going to be looking at now, since we already looked at how to tell the application how to behave, we know what kind of content or categories are available to us from this particular application for both Facebook and Twitter again. So what we're looking at is the sample of post. Now, this particular section, sometimes people do believe this is what your particular application is actually going to follow through, but we have a description right here that says this shows a representation of the categories that you've chosen and also the auto post settings. And your next automated update or post may not be one of the posts shown below and may not happen at the exact time shown here. So this is just to kind of give you an idea over the course of next couple of days what it potentially look like as you have this application running. So as we can see, we've got, of course, the 25th. I've got my 4 different posts for tomorrow. I've got 4 different posts, of course, for the 26th, all within, of course, 4 posts in the 24 hours. And we can see that I've got, of course, motivational quotes. So for the first 2 days, and then bam, on that second day, the last post is going to be that company-specific information. Because remember, it's going every 6 hours, and it says 7 generic posts must go out before I do one company-specific. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then there's the Xseed company-specific one. And again, these aren't the exact ones, but this gives you kind of an idea. So you can look at some of the motivational quotes. This is, some of what the samples would be. You're fully responsible for everything you are, everything you have, and everything you've become. That was said by Brian Tracy. Some more information from famous failures. This is one of my categories. I'll go ahead and blow up my screen a little bit so you guys can see what that looks like. So it's an Isaac Newton post, and it says that he failed miserably when put in charge of the family farm, so his uncle took charge and sent him to Cambridge, where he finally succeeded. So, he didn't really necessarily, of course, do too well at farming, but as we know, he's basically the father of a few scientific laws that govern, of course, the way we deal with sciences these days. You've also got some items from the Crazy Ones campaign. This is, one of our newest ones. So we got famous failures, which is one of our faves, but a new one that we just kind of did up was, of course, the Crazy Ones. And this one's about Thomas Edison. And it says his perseverance allowed him to create 1,000 variations of the light bulb before creating one that worked. This is from someone who was told by his teachers that he was too stupid to learn anything. So, and it says at the bottom, of course, here's to the crazy ones. People crazy enough to try and change the world often do. So we'll take a look actually at one of the company's specific items too. And there's always time to eat right. And of course, here's some information. It says, Xseed was infused was formulated with convenience in mind, making it ideal for these on the run, or for those on the run, and for those wanting to incorporate a weight management program into their lifestyle. And that's meant to, of course, have people ask you, what was that post that you had up? Or, what's Xseed? Or, what's this product line that you guys are talking about? So let me go ahead and, of course, shrink my page back down so it looks normal for us. There we go. That's about the right size. And again, that's basically what we're looking at for the sample of posts. So get familiar with some of them. If you'd like to, you can kind of, run through them and look at each one of them. The next thing that we're going to talk about is, of course, this next tab that we have that's right next to the auto post, which is manually post. So you don't have to wait on the system to send out some of these great posts from either any of the generic categories or, of course, the Xseed category. Now, the one thing I do want you guys to be aware of is if I have it set For every 6 hours, that means I'm getting 4 posts in a 24-hour period. But let's say I choose to do 2 manual posts within that 24-hour period. The system's not going to let me push out 2 manual posts and then still keep its record on those 4 auto posts. It's going to essentially eat up 2 of those. So if I manually post twice today, if I have it set for every 6 hours, you guys need to anticipate that the system's only going to send 2 more additional posts for you. Again, that's so that way Facebook doesn't, start to look at the application as being spammy as far as pushing all these things to Facebook manually and then still, doing its auto post. So if you do 4 manual posts, you have it set to every 6 hours, it's not going to auto post for you. Or what a lot of times when somebody first comes in, they leave it at every, once a day, they still have it at 8 generics. They do a manual post and then they notice that their system's not auto posting for them. That's because you've done an auto or a manual post already for the day, so the system's not going to do that auto post. So if you do want to do some manual posts on top of letting the system kind of, have its fun, randomly pick stuff for you, set it for every 6 hours. Get in there and do, 1 or 2 manual posts and then let the system do, the 2 other auto posts for you. Another cool, of course, feature with this particular system, as you guys can see, I've actually had it hooked up to my account before back in January when I first started testing the system for you guys. So you can see that it does keep track of all the posts that it essentially will do on there. Now that we've got a new authorization, it'll start showing me my auto post history for, of course, the month of February from the 24th going onward. You've also got the social networks tab, which is essentially going to give you an opportunity to send out those test posts or send out the test tweets, still make sure that your authorizations are intact. For Facebook, they do have an expiration date on your authorization tokens. Those usually last about 90 days. So if your application's running, pretty hardy for about 90 days and then it all of a sudden stops, just come inside here, click the deauthorize button. It's going to, of course, refresh. We're at a standard authorize button. I'm going to click that for us, and it's just going to authorize that application automatically back again for me. This goes ahead and, of course, gets a new authorization token from Facebook and has me good for another 90 days or 3 months. So that's basically going to be the auto poster, the social tools as far as it's concerning the application. Again, you can do the authorizations from here within the social networks, or you can do that from within the profile that we looked at earlier, as well as setting up, of course, those social media buttons to appear in any one of the emails, or again, showing those social media buttons on the follow me or the contact page on your guys' front end sites. There's one more trick in, of course, my hat I want to show you guys this evening, which deals with being able to share other content directly to, of course, a number of different social networks. And the way I'm going to show you right now has to deal with, of course, the prospecting and all the different types of digital media that we currently have available for you guys. So currently, no default presentations, but we do have, of course, some videos, which is the pre-launch. As you guys get more and more underway, we're going to start having more, of course, items in here. And then we've got the web pages specifically. So let's say I wanted to show somebody specifically the products page on my website. I can click that little Facebook icon, and it's going to bring up, of course, a little box, and it's going to have me comment on it if I needed to. So I can say, check out these amazing products! Exclamation point. And then I'm going to share that link. It's going to go ahead and put that in, of course, my Facebook for me. If I wanted to, we can come over here and actually look at my page for that, and then there's that check out the amazing product. So I just shared the infused product, and of course, if I click that image, it takes that person directly to my website, has them fill out my lead capture page so I have their current contact information, and then they come in and start looking at the rest of the website. And you can do that, of course, with the same thing with the video for the pre-launch video. So if I wanted to, I could push that to Twitter. It's contacting Twitter. It's going to ask me to sign in, put the information there, go ahead and post it. It's a done deal. So don't be afraid to also share some of this digital media content that we have available for you in the form of, having somebody check out the opportunity or come specifically check out, the company or, even the products, particular part of your guys' web pages. And then as you guys start to create your own presentations, you'll be able to share those items on those social networks as well, too. So as we begin to put more and more, of course, digital media and content in the system for you, the more and more you're going to be able to share that information on the social networks. networks. Now, the great thing about being able to share, like, the video, if I wanted to, I could push that directly to Facebook. If I share this video, this does not eat into, of course, anything that my auto post applications are doing. So I can push as much content from my digital media as I want to directly to Facebook, and it's not going to interfere with the application settings itself. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I can directly show them the video, have them come to the website, capture their lead information if it's a friend of a friend. I got their phone number, their email address. I can begin prospecting them. So as you guys can see, the social networks are certainly a powerful tool to use in our particular industry these days. Having these kind of tools available to some of us that have been in the industry for a number of years, back in the, early 2000s, when, certain social networks like, MySpace, which is kind of come and gone, but, nobody really kind of thought to really implore a lot of course, the information that we share just in a normal aspect of, our everyday lives when it comes to our particular business models. So, get out there, share the information, of course, with people on your social networks, help it become viral within your own social circles, and you're going to start to see that you're going to start pulling in more prospects. Then sometimes you know what to deal with at a certain time. So we hope that, of course, this webinar has certainly been informational for you guys. If you have any questions or concerns, certainly contact a technical support representative. They'll be happy to, of course, assist you in authorizing the applications to your social networks, helping you figure out what you need to do to share some of the different types of digital media, or how to configure or find what your usernames are so you can configure those social media buttons on each one of the emails that you're sending out. And again, those emails can be in the form of autoresponders or one-click emails or directed marketing emails that contain any one of these digital media items as well. So thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with me for a little bit over the last half hour or so. We certainly appreciate it. Stay tuned for, of course, another helpful training session, and we'll talk to you guys all very soon.